Well, let's just have a quick look, because the United Kingdom, our neighbours, have already made this mistake and made a total hash of contract work. They're in a complete mess right now, and they've got no idea to unpick it. If they could flip a switch and go back and never engage in what Albanese is about to do, they'd do it in a heartbeat. So should we be learning from the UK before we even look at doing something like this?
I think the UK gives us a very good template to look at and see the results. So we know that the UK is in dire trouble economically at the moment. No, everyone blames it on Brexit, but it blames and blame it on Ukraine and so on and so forth. But and they're external factors and so forth. But what you have to do is look at internal things that they've been doing for a long time. Now, the United Kingdom has had a law since 1996, which it's a pretty old thing that's been sitting on the legislature, that does and it's able to do exactly what Albanese is saying he's going to do. And that law really has been asleep for a long time and was activated by the, believe it or not, the London taxi regulator, who said that Uber riders were really going to be treated like employees. So, and it was a taxi industry protection exercise. Now, that's been through to the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the UK. And so that's infected the way the independent contractor community can work in the United Kingdom. Now, the independent contractor community was growing in the United Kingdom and has now retracted quite considerably. So we sit at about 17-18% of the workforce. The United Kingdom was at 12% during the 1990s. It had grown to about 15 or 16% and is now sliding back very quickly towards 12%. And that's part of the thing that you see where it's a poverty creation exercise. So in particular, people at the bottom end of the income earning scale are the people who are hit the most by this, even though it's presented as a protection for them. In actual fact, it's an attack against their income capacities. And the UK is really a warning sign for us about this.
Well, this is really frustrating because a lot of it's coming, as you say, out of the transport industry. And the taxi drivers in both the UK and Australia, the reason that we have Uber in the first place is because the taxi industry became an extremely poor service. They refused to take you places you wanted to go. They wouldn't come. You'd call them and they'd ignore you for hours or rock up really late. I mean, I've been charged $30 excess because they didn't want to come from the city to pick you up because of a certain hour of the night and that you're stuck there. That's why we have Uber. It's a natural correction of a union stranglehold industry that was so regulated it was no longer doing its job correctly anymore. And because the unions stuffed up the transport industry, they're now coming after the gig economy saying, well, how dare you outcompete us? And on that point, and one final point here, I wanted to say, union-dominated employment industries are rigid. Are they worried that they are going to be outcompeted by the quality and speed of the gig economy? Because a lot of these self-employed people, not just in transport but in other parts of life, they work long hours and they work harder than you're allowed to work legally under these employment laws. But that's their choice. And are they worried that they're going to be outcompeted in the union industry?
Well, and the choice is not only to work long hours and so forth, but to work when you want to work, not when someone tells you to work. Now, that's a big difference. The union movement in Australia, their membership of the workforce in the private sector is down around about the 8%. Now, I'm told that the Australian Bureau of Stats is no longer taking the figures because the figures have become too unreliable. So the union movement is operating in the private sector anyway, operating a business model which is dying very quickly. And I think there's no doubt that your suspicion around this, that this is part of the play by the union movement to try and prop up a failing business model that is under attack by ordinary people just doing their thing, I think is a spot-on analysis to do. It's certainly part of the mix here.